request, we're sending it to localhost 3000. So we can actually set up a shortcut in Vite. So we don't have to type localhost 3000 every time. So we can actually remove these and save. And then we're going to go to our files and we're going to open vite.config.js. And inside here, we're going to add the property server colon and an object. And inside we'll add the property proxy colon another object. And in here we'll add a string / API colon, and we're going to give this an object. And inside we'll add a target property colon and the string HTTP colon / localhost colon 3000. So this is called a server proxy configuration. This just means that if the URL path starts with /API, like we had it before, the request will automatically go to localhost 3000. So we don't have to type it every time. Another thing we can set up is when we load images, we also want to load them from the backend. Remember, the backend should manage the data, including the product images. So in here, we'll also add a comma and add a string / images colon and an object, and we'll give it the same target. So we'll select this and copy, and in here we'll paste and save. And we need to do one more thing. We're going to go inside index.html, and in the head, we're going to add less than base / greater than. And we're going to give this an attribute href equals double quotes and a slash. So this adds slash in front of any relative URLs. All the image URLs start with images, and this will convert them into /images so that our redirect will work. Let's save, and we'll go back to the Vite config. So now when we get images, we're going to get them from the backend. And now because we changed the Vite configuration, it's a good idea to stop the server with Control-C and then restart the server using npm run dev. And now let's check the website to make sure everything is working. So I'll just refresh this to make sure. And everything still looks good. So now we'll go back to our code and we'll save these changes into Git. Inside Git, we're going to type the message add server proxy config for /API and /images and commit. Next, we're going to move on to the checkout page. So let's open the website and we'll click the cart icon in the top right. And we're going to work on this page. So on this page, we also need the cart to generate this HTML. So we'll go back to our code and we'll open our files and we're going to open checkoutpage.jsx. And now inside here, we could do another axios.get /API/cart again, but remember we already loaded the cart on the homepage. It does not make sense to reload the cart whenever we switch pages. We just need to load the cart once for the entire website. To do that, we're going to go to the homepage and we're going to share this cart between the two pages using the technique lifting the state up. As a review, this means we move the cart state up to an outer component. In this case, the outer component is the app component here, which contains the homepage. So we're going to lift the cart up into the app component. And from here, we can share the cart between the homepage and the checkout page. So first, let's go into the homepage again. We're going to select this cart and cut and go back to the app. And we're going to lift it up in here by pasting it. And we also need the code that loads the cart. So in the homepage, we're going to select this code and cut and save inside app.jsx. Below this, we're going to paste. And remember, we need to put this inside a use effect so that it only runs once. So use effect, brackets, give it a function, and a empty array at the end. And we're going to select it and cut, and inside here, paste. And I'll select these lines and press tab to reformat them. And next, we'll need to import this code. So at the top, we're going to import curly brackets, use state, and use effect from React. And we'll also import Axios. So at the top again, we're going to import Axios from the string Axios. So now that we have the cart, we're going to share it between these two pages using a prop. So for the home page, we'll add a prop cart equals curly brackets, and we'll give it the cart. And for the checkout page as well, cart equals curly brackets, and we'll save the cart. Let's save this file, and we'll go into the home page. And at the top, we need to access the cart from the props using curly brackets, the cart, and save. So the code should work the same as before, except we're just getting the cart from the props now. Let's open our website to make sure it works. We're going to go to the home page and refresh, and that looks good. We'll go back to our code. So now that we lifted the state up, we can just load the cart once for the entire website instead of reloading it on every page. We'll open the Git section and we'll give it the message, lift cart up and share it between pages and commit. Next, we're going to use the cart to generate the HTML for the checkout page. So first make sure that we pass the cart to the checkout page using this prop. And now we're going to open the checkout page, which is here. And we're going to access the cart from the props using curly brackets and the cart. And now we'll use this cart to generate the HTML down here. Now inside this code, we're going to press Control F to find some code, and we're going to search for cart-item-container. And here, we're going to collapse this element, and we'll collapse this element as well. So each of these represents a cart item on the page. So let's generate this using the cart. Above this, we're going to insert cart.map brackets, and we'll give it a function, brackets, arrow, and curly brackets. And this inner function gets one parameter, which is the cart item. And for each item, we're going to return brackets some HTML. So for each cart item, we want to generate this HTML. So let's just select it and copy. And inside here, we're going to paste. And to fix the formatting, we're going to press Control or Command Shift P and run format document. Now let's scroll up. And remember, when we loop through an array, each element needs a key property. Each cart item has a product ID, which is unique. So we're going to save the key as cart_item.product_ID. And now, instead of showing the same product every time, we're going to insert the details from each cart item. However, there is a problem here. Remember that the cart looks like this. It doesn't have any product data on it. To fix this, we're going to go to the app component where we load the cart. And at the end of this URL, we can add $expand equals product. So this is called a query parameter. A query parameter lets us add additional information to our request. when the backend receives this query parameter, it's going to add product details to the cart. So it's going to expand the cart with product details. So now let's save this file. And we're going to open the website. And we're going to go to the checkout page. And we're going to open the console. So we'll right click, inspect. And inside the console, we're going to open the network tab. So I'm going to remove any search that I have. And in here, we can see all the requests that we make to the backend and the responses. So by the way, requests only show up here if the console was open before the request. So we may need to refresh to get the request to show up in the network tab. And now we can see our request to cart-items. If you don't see it, you may need to search for it up here by typing cart. And we have it here. So we can open this by clicking it and then go into the response tab. And here you can see the response from the backend. So now you can see that each cart item has a property called product. And this contains all the product details that we need for this page. So now let's go back to our code. And we're going to go to the checkout page. And now instead of the socks every time, we're going to remove this and insert the cart item dot product dot name. And we'll also replace the image. So we'll remove this and insert the cart item dot product dot image. And down here, we're going to insert the price. Now, if we go to the home page, remember that in the home page, we wrote some code here to display the price. So let's actually move this code into a function so we can reuse it. Inside our files, we're going to click the source folder and we'll create a new folder. And let's call it utils for utilities. And inside the utils folder, we'll create a new file and we'll name it money.js. So this file contains utilities or code that helps us work with money. So in here, let's create a function and we'll name it format money, brackets and curly brackets. And we're going to copy the code from the home page. So inside the home page, we're going to take all of this code and copy it. And inside money.js, inside here, we'll paste it. And now we're going to turn this into a string. At the front, we'll type backtick, and at the end, a backtick to create a template string. And remember, in template strings, to insert something, we need $ curly brackets. And now, instead of getting the product.price_cents, we're going to pass it into this function. So let's name the parameter amount cents. And we're going to remove this and replace it with amount cents. So this function lets us convert any amount cents into this format. At the end, let's return this value from the function. And we'll export it so we can use it in other files. And save. So now we can go back to the home page. And at the top, we're going to import curly brackets, the format money function that we just created from a string, and we're going to locate the utils folder. So we'll go out of this folder with .. utils/money. And now we'll scroll back down. And instead of this code, we're going to remove it and insert format money brackets, and we'll give it product.price_cents and save. And now let's reuse this function in the checkout page. So we'll open the checkout page, and at the top, we're going to import curly brackets, the format money function from a string, and we're going to locate this file. And for me, I'll go out of this folder using .. utils/money. Now, if you did the exercises from the previous lesson, this file might be inside a folder called checkout. In that case, make sure you have 2 ... in front. And now we're going to scroll back down. And we're going to replace this money with curly brackets, format money brackets, and we're going to give it the cart item dot product dot price cents. And we'll replace the quantity. So insert cart item dot quantity and save. And now if we go back to the website, now we are generating these cart items using data from the backend. And this was the default HTML we had before. So now we can go back to our code and we can scroll down and we can remove the default HTML and save. So now let's save these changes into Git. We'll open the Git section and at the top, we'll type the message generate HTML for the cart items and commit. Next, we're going to generate the HTML for the delivery options. So we'll go back to the checkout page and we'll scroll to the top of this component. And here, we'll load the delivery options from the backend. So first, let's import Axios. At the top, we'll import Axios from the Axios npm package. And we'll also need import curly brackets, use state, and use effect to save the delivery options. So import it from React. And now inside the component, we'll create some state to save the delivery options. Const square bracket equals use state and brackets. And we'll name this delivery options, colon, and the updater function set delivery options. And we'll set the starting value to an empty array. Next, we'll get the delivery options from the backend. So here, we'll do use effect brackets, and we'll give it a function, brackets, arrow, and curly brackets. And at the end, we'll give it a comma and an empty dependency array so that this code only runs once on this page. And inside here, we're going to call axios.get brackets. And the URL to get the delivery options is /API/delivery-options. And then we're going to wait for the response to come back using .then brackets and give it a function, brackets, arrow, and curly brackets. And inside the function, the response from the backend will be saved as the response parameter. So once we get this response, we're going to save it in the delivery options up here using set delivery options brackets response.data. Now let's save this code and we're going to check the network tab to see if it works. So we'll open the console and we'll open the network tab and we might need to refresh to make sure we get the request. And we'll remove this and search for delivery options. And we'll click one of these and then look at the response tab. So the backend responded with 3 delivery options. Each delivery option has the number of days it takes to deliver and the price in cents. However, if we open our website, notice that each delivery option also has an estimated delivery time. So we could use this delivery days to calculate this date on the front end. But remember, it's generally the backend's job to manage the data and do these calculations. So if we go back to our code, this URL path also supports a query parameter called expand. So at the end, we'll add question mark, expand equals, and I called it estimated delivery time. So when the backend sees this expand parameter, it will calculate the estimated delivery time for us. and then give it back in our response. If we save and check the console and refresh and open the response, and now you'll see that each delivery option now has an estimated delivery time in milliseconds. So now we'll go back to our code, and we have what we need to display the date. As you can see, it's generally the backend's job to manage the data and to do the calculations. And now the front end's job is to present that data in an easy to read way on the website. So now let's use these delivery options to generate the HTML. We're going to click in this file and press Ctrl F to search for code, and we'll search for delivery-options. And inside here, we should see an element with a class name delivery option. So we're going to collapse this element and also collapse the other delivery options. And each of these represents one delivery option on the page. So let's generate this HTML using React. Above this, we'll insert and we'll run the code delivery options.map brackets and give it a function brackets, arrow, and curly brackets. And the parameter will be each delivery option. And here we're going to return brackets some HTML for each delivery option. So we want to return this HTML, so we can select it and copy, and inside here we'll paste. And we can fix the formatting using Control or Command-Shift-P and press Format Document. And let's scroll up. And as always, we need a key prop whenever we're looping through an array. So we'll add key equals curly brackets, and each delivery option has a unique ID. So we just set it to the delivery option.id. Next, we're going to replace these values here. So first, we'll do the delivery date. Currently, we only have the delivery time in milliseconds. So how do we display it as a date like this? To do that, we can use another NPM package called day.js. So we're going to go to the terminal and go to the tab that's running our front end, and we can press Ctrl-C to stop the server, and we're going to npm install day.js, and we'll type @ to give it a version, and we're going to click this link in the description to get the version of day.js we're going to use. And we'll copy that version and paste it in here and press enter to install day.js. And after that, we're going to npm run dev to restart the server. So the day.js package helps us work with dates, and it helps us display a date in a particular format. To use it, we're going to scroll to the top, and at the top, we're going to import day.js from the package day.js. And now we'll scroll back down, or we can Control F and search for delivery options. And we'll scroll down here. And now above this date, we're going to insert, and we're going to run day.js and brackets. And we're going to give day.js a time in milliseconds, which we actually have inside delivery option dot estimated delivery time ms, or milliseconds. And now that we wrapped this in day.js, we can format it into this format. So after this bracket here, we're going to use the method dot format and brackets and give it a string. To show the time in this format, we're going to type D 4 times, which is the day of the week, and then we'll type a comma to show this comma and a space, and we'll type capital M 4 times to show the month and a space, and we'll type capital D, which will show this date. And now we can remove this code. Next, we're going to replace this price. If the price is free, we'll show free shipping. Otherwise, we're going to show the price dash shipping. So we're going to scroll up to the inside of this loop here. And we're going to create a variable for the price. So we'll do let price string equals a string. And to make it easier, we're going to set this to a default of free shipping. And then we're going to overwrite this if we have a price. So below this, we're going to check if brackets the delivery option dot price cents is greater than 0, curly brackets. So if it is not free, we're going to overwrite this price string equals a template string. And inside we're going to insert. And remember, we have the format money function to display the price. So inside here, we'll call format money and brackets, and we're going to give it the delivery option dot price cents. And at the end, we're going to add a dash and shipping. And now we can scroll back down, and instead of free shipping every time, we're going to insert the price string. Next, we're going to scroll up a bit, and there's a few things that we need to replace for this input type radio element. So this represents the selector, and there's a few special attributes that we need to replace. The first one is the name attribute. So the name groups these selectors together. So each set of selectors should have a unique name. This makes sure that for each product, we can only select one of them. So here, instead of doing delivery option 1 every time, we're going to replace this with a product ID, because each set of selectors should belong to one product. So in this code, we're going to replace it using curly brackets and change this to a template string using a backtick and a backtick. And instead of 1 every time, we're going to insert, and we'll insert the product ID. Now in this code, we actually have access to the cart item from above. So inside here, we can just insert the cart item dot product ID. Next, we also need to update this checked property. So this determines if the selector is checked. So we don't want the selector to be checked every time. Each cart item has a delivery option ID, and this is the one that should be checked. So inside here, we're going to add a new line, and we're going to make check equal and insert some code. And we're going to compare if this delivery option.id is equal to the cart items dot delivery option ID. So only the delivery option that matches the delivery option ID in the cart will be checked. So that's all the things that we have to replace in the delivery options. So now let's scroll down, and we can remove this default code and save. And let's check the website. And now we're generating these delivery options, and the correct ones are checked, and we have the estimated delivery dates for each displayed in an easy to read format. The last thing we need to generate is this delivery date up here. So we'll go back to the code, and we're going to scroll up to the cart item, and we're going to find the cart item container and this delivery date here. So this date is determined by whichever delivery option is selected. So first we need to find the delivery option that is selected. So inside this loop, we'll create a variable const for the selected delivery option and equals. And to find this, we're going to get the delivery options and then use the method dot find and brackets. And find gets a function. So brackets, arrow, and curly brackets. And in this inner function, it receives each delivery option. So we'll call it delivery option. And I'll just add a new line here and select this code and press tab to format it a little bit. So the way that find works is it's going to loop through each delivery option, and the first function here that returns true is going to be the result. So that's how we find something. And then it's going to save it in this variable. So inside here, we want to return the delivery option.id that is equal to the cart items dot delivery option ID. So the delivery option that matches what is inside the cart item will return true, and that's going to be saved in here. And now we can replace this date. So we'll type curly brackets, and we'll use day.js brackets and the selected delivery option dot estimated delivery time ms, and outside this bracket we'll use the method dot format brackets and give it a string, and to get this date format we'll give it d 4 times, a comma, and capital M 4 times, space, and capital D. And now we can remove this date here. And before we run this code, there is one small problem here, because remember, the delivery options start out as empty. So if they are empty, we might not find the selected delivery option. To fix this, in front of this code, we're going to check if delivery options dot length is greater than 0 and type and. As a review, this works like an if statement. It will check if delivery options.length is greater than 0, and then only if it's true, it will run the rest of the code. So now we can save and check the website. And now we're generating everything here using data from the backend. So let's go back to our code, and we'll save this into Git. Inside the Git section, we'll type the message, generate the HTML for the delivery options, and commit. Next, if we go back to the website, we're going to generate the HTML for the payment summary here. Now, we could calculate all these numbers inside React. However, we're going to use the backend to calculate these numbers. Remember, the backend's job is to manage the data and to do the calculations. The frontend's job is to present the data in an easy-to-read way. So let's go back to our code, and we'll go back to the checkout page, and we'll scroll to the top, and we're going to create a state for the payment summary. So here, we'll type const square brackets equals use state and brackets, and we'll name this payment summary, comma, and the updater function set payment summary. And as the starting value, we're going to use null, because the payment summary is going to be an object, and it's a little easier to check if the object is not loaded if we set it to null at the start. Next, we're going to use Axios to get the payment summary from the backend. So down here, we'll use axios.get brackets, and we'll give it the URL path /API/payment-summary. And we'll use .then to wait for a response and give it a function. And inside here, we can get the response. Once we get the response, we're going to use set payment summary brackets response.data to save the data inside here. So now let's save and check the response from the backend. So we'll go to our website and open the console and open the network tab, and we'll refresh just in case. We can click this to remove the search and type payment, and we get the payment summary. So we can click this, and you can see that in the response, the backend calculated all the numbers that we need. So now we just need to present this on the page. Let's go back, and we'll press Control F in this file, and we'll search for payment-summary and press Enter to find the next result. And this section represents the payment summary on the page. And now we'll replace these numbers with the numbers we got from the backend. So first, we'll replace the total quantity here using curly brackets, and we'll replace it with payment summary dot total items. And here we'll replace the product cost. I'll type a new line to make it a little easier to read, and we'll insert. And remember, for money, we need to format it using the function format money brackets, and we'll get the payment summary dot product cost cents. We'll scroll down and we'll replace this next number. So we'll remove it and new line and curly brackets, and we'll run format money again, brackets, and this one is the shipping cost, which is payment summary dot shipping cost cents. Let's keep going. And this is the total before tax. So we'll replace this and insert format money brackets payment summary dot total cost before tax cents. And we'll scroll down here and replace this. Insert format money brackets the payment summary dot tax cents. And then down here, we're going to replace this one and insert format money brackets the payment summary dot total cost cents. And finally, we only want to display this if the payment summary is loaded. Otherwise, we don't have this information. So above this code, we're going to type curly brackets, and we'll check if payment summary and brackets. So this checks if the payment summary object exists. If it's null at the start, it's not going to run the rest of the code. And now we're going to put all of this code inside here. So we'll select all this code up to the place order button, and we'll cut. And inside here, we're going to paste. Now, a problem here is that we're returning multiple elements inside this brackets. So to fix that, we need to wrap this in a fragment using less than, greater than, and remove this for now. And at the end, after the button, we'll do less than / greater than. So we're returning one element inside this brackets. And now we'll format our code using Control or Command Shift P and run format document and save. And that's it. Now we're generating the payment summary using data from the backend. We'll go to our website, and that looks good. So now let's go back to our code, and we'll save this into Git. In the Git section, we're going to type the message, generate HTML for the payment summary, and commit. Next, we're going to work on the orders page. So we'll go back to our files, and we're going to open the orders page. So first of all, the orders page has a header component. And remember, the header now needs the cart in order to display the quantity. So we need to share the cart with the orders page first. We'll go to our files and open app.jsx, and we'll scroll down. And here, we'll share the cart with the orders page using a prop cart equals curly brackets, and we'll save the cart and save. And we'll open the orders page again. And at the top, we're going to access the prop using curly brackets and cart. And we're going to pass this cart into the header using cart equals curly brackets and the cart. Let's save. And we'll open the website, and we're going to go to the orders page. So first we'll click here to go to the home page, and then we'll click here to open the orders page, and it should be working. So now we're going to generate this HTML using data from the backend. So we'll go back to the orders page, and at the top, we're going to import what we need. So first we'll import Axios from Axios, and we'll also import curly brackets, use state, and use effect from React. And now down here, first we'll create some state to save the orders using const square brackets equals use state and brackets, and we'll call